So you wanted an extension of the small business paycheck protection program, but President Trump talked about therapies and vaccines and a tax cut. So what did you leave the meeting thinking?
Well, Alex, thanks for having me this morning. Yeah, it was a very impactful meeting from our perspective. I think we went in. There was a number of us from the restaurant industry, independents as well as others that run bigger chains. And our focus, and my focus in particular, was to be able to share with President Trump and the administration the challenges that our franchisees, that our small business owners, the challenges that they faced over the last 60 days through the height of the pandemic. And I think all of us were very appreciative of the work that the White House and the folks on Capitol Hill did to quickly move to be able to get the CARES Act and TPP in place.
Right.
But one of the things that was important for us was to be able to see an extension of the deadline by which to use those funds for payroll for another 24 weeks, because we think it's going to be critical in order to allow restaurants to have the time to work through the reopening plans in their communities and then hire back all their employees.
Right. So did you get it? Did you get assurances for it? You said it was impactful, but like I said, it feels like the rhetoric that President Trump came out of it with was talking about vaccines and a tax cut. That's not the same thing as extending the program and letting you spend more money on other things than just payroll.
No, I think if you watch the full roundtable, I think President Trump and Secretary Mnuchin and others and Vice President Pence were very supportive. They understood the issue. I think what was most impactful for all of us was how much they know about our restaurant industry, how much they know the struggles and the challenges that the restaurant industry has been facing in America over the last 60 days, and an appreciation for the request that we're making. Obviously, there's a lot of work that needs to that happens, behind the scenes to be able to get something like this addressed and finalized. But I do think there was tremendous alignment in terms of the need for some sort of adjustments with TPP. But we'll see how this evolves in the coming days and weeks. But that was something that we felt encouraged by the dialogue.
So part of that is also having to hire back workers that you may have had to furlough or lay off, et cetera. What's it like to staff your restaurants right now? What's it like to get people in to work? What are the struggles around that?
Yeah, our franchisees, so with Burger King, Popeyes, and Tim Hortons in the U.S., we have about 10,000 locations, and over 95% of them roughly have been partially open throughout the crisis. So we had our drive-thrus and our delivery and our curbside pickup and mobile order and prepayment. All of those services were available during the last 60 days. So we've had most of our restaurants open to some extent. So we've been able to retain most of our employees. It's certainly, as we move into the next phase, which is reopening the dining rooms and addressing social distancing and all the safety and security measures that we're putting in place in the dining rooms, our franchisees are beginning to look for additional labor in this process. But so far, we feel encouraged by the progress that we're making and look forward to reopening all of our dining rooms. We have about 15% of our dining rooms open today in the U.S.
As you bring those workers back and reopen those restaurants, the dining rooms that are closed, tell me how you're thinking about liability in terms of your workers, and did you address that yesterday at the White House?
Yeah, one of the things that we shared with President Trump and the other leaders is asking for some sort of liability protection for small businesses during this transition period. I think giving small business owners, franchisees, and others confidence that they can reopen following the guidelines that have been established, but have the confidence that they can do so without having to look over their shoulders, especially with frivolous or unwarranted litigation. We think that's an important element of a strong reopening plan, so that we can get out there and focus on providing great service safely and responsibly to our guests.
So Going back to sort of the tax conversation also, so President Trump intimating yesterday that a tax cut would help. Larry Kudlow speaking on network right now saying that they're looking at another corporate tax rate cut. Although if you speak to many business leaders, they're saying in order to pay for all of the stimulus, there's going to be a corporate tax cut increase. Excuse me, you're going to have to increase corporate taxes to pay for it. How do you see this evolving for you?
Yeah, there was some discussion around the payroll tax cut in the meeting yesterday. I think there was a number of different initiatives that President Trump and the White House have put forth over the last several months as initiatives to stimulate employment and the economy. From our vantage point, I think the most critical step here is making sure that we have the right level of support with PPP and as I said, expand the deadline to allow for folks to bring in employees. That's our focus, is making sure our employees or our franchisees' employees are rehired and that we have the staff ready to serve customers. And then I think over time we'll see how additional stimuli are put forth to address the economy.
You have been able to reopen some stores in China. What have you learned from your franchisees there?
Yeah, we've reopened more than 97% of our restaurants in China, so we're essentially open for business across the country. And what we've seen is that the consumer is resilient. We see that there's the off-premise business that was already quite strong in China, meaning delivery and takeout and mobile order and payment. So it's a strong digital business that we have in China. That continues to grow, and we're still seeing a ramp up in the kind of the leisure type of business that we have. So the weekends and the malls, I think that's still in the process of picking up and getting back to where it used to be.